What's up? Thanks for bearing with me. The Chicago Bears have just dropped their opening game to the Green Bay Packers at home at Soldier Field by a score of 10-3. My immediate reaction coming out of the game is that I grossly underestimated both sides of the ball for the Chicago Bears. We start on offense. I grossly underestimated just how bad that offense had the potential to be. I thought they would take a huge step forward. I thought they had way too many weapons to ever look as bad as they did tonight. But tonight, the Green Bay Packers defense were able to prove that you can still make the Chicago Bears offense look pretty bad, even in year 2 of Matt Nagy's offense, year 3 of Mitch Trubisky. Even with all of the weapons that they have in that offense, it's still not to a level yet where they cannot be made to look bad on a given night. They certainly looked bad tonight. They weren't able to move the ball. 9, maybe 10 punts by Patrick O'Donnell. I think Patrick O'Donnell may have had more snaps in this game than Anthony Miller. But I'll look at the statistics and I'll listen to the post-game interviews, and we'll have a better synopsis of what happened in the game today tomorrow on the post-game for Bear With Me. But right now, you look at that offense and you got to say, how can they not move the ball? How can they not play a bit more complementary football to the defense? That defense was dominating. They were flying around. They were making plays early in that game, but the offense was not able to sustain any drives to move the football, to hold the time of possession and keep that defense off the field to give them a rest. That's the type of complementary football that they're going to have to play, but they were not able to do that. And as a result, you keep putting your defense out there. You keep putting them out there. Doesn't matter how good they are when they're going up against arguably the best quarterback, the most talented quarterback that's ever played this game. Eventually, he's going to get them. You give him time after time, 1 out of 10, he'll get them 1 out of 10, right? That defense is still really, really good, but 1 out of 10 possessions, Aaron Rodgers is going to get you, and that's pretty much what happened. And the Bears dropped the game by a score of 10-3. Now, Mitch Trubisky and Allen Robinson, they had a pretty good connection today. They showed they have some good chemistry. They had a lot of back shoulder balls, a little bit of separation, but then you throw a person open. Allen Robinson and Mitch Trubisky seem to have a lot of chemistry. Hopefully they can continue to build on that, but you have to have more people getting involved. Today, Allen Robinson had over 100 yards receiving, but as a wide receiver group, I think they were targeted maybe 24 times, had about 10 receptions or so amongst the entire wide receiver group. So they have to be able to do better than that outside of Allen Robinson. This offense, again, they simply were not able to complement the defense in any meaningful way. Mitch Trubisky was simply not good enough. I said yesterday that while I think for his overall career, he has to be Hall of Fame or bust, in my opinion, to justify the Bears trading up from 3 to 2 to go get him in the same draft where Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes were drafted after him, because they had to be convicted that he was so much better than either of those two guys that they couldn't risk not getting him and ending up with one of those guys. And so for that reason, I think that he has to be a Hall of Fame player to justify that pick. But I also said that he doesn't have to play at a Hall of Fame level this year for this particular team to win the Super Bowl. He just has to play good enough. Today, he wasn't even that. Today, he simply was not good enough. He was not able to make the throws when they needed to. We saw him with a couple of overthrows. We saw him forcing balls into some tight windows. There was the one huge interception late in the game, obviously, that we'll get to here in a second. But there were some other questionable decisions that could have just as easily been intercepted. He also wasn't able to feel the rush coming around him. Now, I will say that the pass protection wasn't there. That pocket seemed to be collapsing. It was a lot of times it was collapsing up the middle, and that's where James Daniels, the second-year lineman out of Iowa, has taken over the center position. He flip-flopped with Cody Whitehair. Cody Whitehair is now playing left guard. James Daniels is playing center, where he played left guard all of last year, and he struggled today, did James Daniels. He wasn't able to, protect the middle in a way that will allow Mitch Trubisky to have a clean pocket in front of him. We can step up, climb the pocket, and look for receivers, or step up and escape pressure from the outside. That pressure was coming from the middle and didn't offer him a lot of escape routes when he needed to get out of the pocket. However, I don't think Mr. Trubisky did a very good job at feeling the pressure around him either, to understand, okay, when it's time to get out of there, when it's time to get rid of the ball. So overall, I don't think the offensive line did a good job. Did a good job today, but especially James Daniels at center, he's going to have to get a lot better. He's going to have to understand first pre-snap where these pressures are coming from. The Packers are very good at disguising their pressures. It's one of the pillars of Mike Pettine's defense. He's able to disguise where he's going to be bringing the pressures from, and James Daniels has to get better at understanding where the pressure is going to come from pre-snap so that he can make sure that he has the right call, right? So everybody understands how they're going to protect once the ball is snapped, because there are a couple of times, one time in particular, where they had the guy stacked right on top of the football. He was stacked right on top of the football, and he went unblocked, came right through James Daniels and the right guard, Kyle Long. Neither of them touched him, and he came right in uncontested for a sack because there was no communication pre-snap, and that's on the center, James Daniels. I expect him to get better. I expect the offensive line as a whole to get better, but today they simply were not good enough. Now, the defense. This defense is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. So much talent at every single level. I can't recall the Bears having a defense where everybody on the field is an absolute beast. You talk about the front four, right? Just the defensive linemen. So you're talking about Eddie Goldman, Akeem Hicks, and Bilal Nichols. But I say the front four because Roy Robertson Harris, that dude is a dog, okay? He is an absolute beast. He was undrafted out of, I think, UTEP, University of Texas El Paso. He came in as an outside linebacker, undrafted for the Bears, and he's turned himself into an outstanding player. He can play anywhere up and down the defensive line, and he is a mismatch problem. He was an outside linebacker in college. He's playing on the defensive line now. He's added a lot of weight to his frame, but he's been able to do so while maintaining his speed, his explosiveness, his athletic ability, and he is really, really blossoming into a phenomenal player. He's in the last year of his deal with the Bears, and I expect him to get paid a lot of money in the offseason, so I don't know that he'll be back, but he is an absolute beast. He had a heck of a game, did Roy Robertson Harris. Also, Roquan Smith, absolute beast. He has the potential to be the next all-time great linebacker for the Chicago Bears. His speed, his instincts, the violence with which he hits people when he arrives, he is all over the field. It seems like he's able to diagnose plays a lot faster now in his second year than he was in his first year, and that allows those instincts and that speed to show up even more. He's constantly in the backfield. He's playing sideline to sideline. Roquan Smith is going to be a very, very dominant player in the middle of the Chicago Bears defense for a long time. Now, want to give a little bit of credit to Adrian Amos, the former Bears safety. He's now with the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers gave him a lot of money in the offseason to come over as a free agent. The Bears chose not to give him that amount of money, and he came back and had a really, really good game for the Packers today. Showed up early in the game, made a couple of key plays in the backfield, a couple of hard hits, one of them on Mitch Trubisky as Trubisky tried to scramble. Adrian Amos came up and really lit him up, hit him right on his right shoulder, and then later in the game, he obviously sealed the game with an interception on an ill-advised throw from Mitch Trubisky. He stared down Allen Robinson, never saw Adrian Amos come over the top, and Mitch Trubisky just kind of floated it up there, and Adrian Amos came over and sealed the game. I'm sure that felt good for him coming back to Chicago in Soldier Field, the team that let him go in free agency, and he makes some key plays early, but then seals it late in the fourth quarter. That'll wrap it up for my immediate reaction. Again, we'll look at the statistics, we'll go through the post-game interviews, we'll rewatch the tape of the game, and tomorrow we'll have a more clearer picture for what this game actually looked like and where the Bears need to be headed going forward on the post-game edition of Bear With Me. This has been my immediate reaction to the Bears' Week 1 loss to the Green Bay Packers at home. 10-3 is the final score. The Bears start the 2019 season 0-1. I am Herb Howard. Thanks for bearing with me.